And so we continued the ministry till late 73 at the House of Living Water. And then we just brought everything in under West Bank Revival Center. And we were there from 72 to 83 when we left. So that's the training ground for my ministry, so to speak. And we have people in this church today that came in through the House of Living Water. Just a few, but they remembered. And Jimmy Phelps was one of them. He also worked for me. And I could rattle off a whole bunch of names of people, young people that came through that ministry. It was incredible. And, it was a real move of God. We weren't doing, pizza parties and sleepovers. Nothing wrong with those things. But those young people, like myself and others, we were radically transformed by the power of the gospel. And part of me, I tell you the truth, kind of yearns to see something like that happen again. I mean, people were walking in off the streets to get saved. A couple in Algiers walking in the evening, they heard the music, came in, Lynn and Linda Nelson, wound up getting saved. He becomes a missionary. It was just a phenomenal thing. And we can't take credit. Our great talent and wisdom and experience. We were kids, but God was doing a lot there. Many of the young men in the church went off to Liberty Bible College to go and learn how to preach, learn how to teach. And some went to IBC. Well, they're all gone. Who's left to do the teaching? And if you've ever done teaching, I've got two kids. You're always the best student in your class. And so it just went from there. And it's kind of ironic because I'm the president of a Bible college now. I never went to seminary. And people say, oh, you're self-educated. There's no such thing. I'm self-motivated. And if you could kind of take a look here at the books over here, this is a small portion of my library. I've sat at the feet of the same people that people who go to seminary sit at. And by teaching it kind of reinforces it in you. So that's how I began to get my it's interesting when knowledge of the word Christianity. I came under some flack for that. I went to work there as a 16-year-old in 66. Worked for 6 weeks, got fired. Came back in 68 when I was in between going, the judge thing, the arrest. And so then I became this, a worker, and then the head bartender, the assistant manager, and then but Shaky sold beer, and they had jukebox to play the rock music, and it was a teenage hangout, and some of it kind of bothered me too. It wasn't a big deal when I'm 16 years old making pizzas. I didn't even go behind the bar or anything. But now I'm an assistant manager, now the manager, and I'm a Sunday school teacher, and I'm serving beer. And I came under some criticism for this. But you know what? It's an amazing thing. The number of kids that got saved out of Shakey's. Come up, beer joint, call it whatever you want. People smoking, ashtrays on the table, fighting out in the parking lot every Friday night. Kids would get in trouble at West Jeff High School. Oh yeah, meet me at Shakey's Friday night. We'll settle it. Hangout. Yeah, have an music blaring. 18-year-olds buying beer and sneaking into the 16-year-olds, and we go out and try to stay on top of it. I can't tell you the number of people that got saved. Tons of kids got saved. And of course, we'd funnel them into West Bank Revival Center, and then we'd try and hire Christians, and the Christians witness to the non-Christians. And I remember one cute little story. Remember now I'm a single man, right? And I own my own business, and I got the cute little beard. And these girls would say, oh, the boss isn't married, huh? Yeah, but he only dates Christians. If you want to date him, you better start going to that town. They'd have a police officer there every night. Have to fight the traffic both ways. And I'm kind of angry, So this security guard comes up to me. This is 1983. Brother Dave, I hear you're a preacher. I said, yeah, that's right. Man. Well, we got a little group over at my house. Why don't you come and share on Monday night? So I go over there. It was, this man was one of the men that was involved in that Algiers 7 thing. I don't know if you remember way back when a police officer, Gregory Newbert, got killed. And there was some overreaction and other people got killed. Well, this police officer turned state's evidence against the other police officers. So he was kind of like a pariah, but he wound up getting saved. And he had this group. And I walk in, and it was all these little children sitting on the ground, adults, and I just started teaching. And as it turned out, the man who had been leading, I was just, a guest speaker for 1 week, but the man who had the group wanted to give it up. So he left. Next thing you know, I've got the group. So I'm teaching every Monday night, and the group begins to grow. And I remember praying in October of 1985. Now I've been promoted to general manager. I've got my own store, and the store where I'd been transferred, I took that over. Now I've got the store, making pretty good money. For whatever reason, I don't know why I prayed this prayer. Lord, lead me into a full-time ministry. The next month, they closed the store down, laid everybody off. The circumstances. Now, I didn't pray, Lord, take away my job, to start a church out of this Monday night group. And so we prayed about it. We had some people that gave us some words, and we just felt that this was the thing to do. So our first service was January 19th, 1986. Only income, steady income. Third Sunday of my wife's job. She was working at Casey Jones, and she got pregnant with our second child. So, I mean, we really hit the bottom financially. We lost some things, And I'm thinking about giving it up. And just go back to midnight, and this little skinny guy I never saw before climbs up on the stage, and he starts ministering. So I'd say to Linda, all right, it's getting late, let's go. And so we start to file out, and I hear this guy with the microphone, hey, brother, and I look, he's talking to me. Stay right there. So I said to Linda, well, he heard me prophesy, figures I'm some kind of minister. You're going to want me to say the closing prayer. So he finishes doing what he's doing. Then he turns to me. Thus saith the Lord, you stay right where you're doing. You keep doing exactly what you're doing. I have called you to that place. And he said something very interesting. He said, I'm going to bring you before the religious leaders of this city and cause them to know that I've anointed you. Now that, I guess you could look at that in different ways. I'm either going to preach a worldwide revival or I'm going to be on trial or something. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing to be brought before the religious leaders of the city. But, Paul said in the book of Romans that I want to impart a gift that you may be established. Spiritual gifts establish churches. And that word, in April of '88, we were asked to go into this building by a man who had left the building. He owned it, but he wasn't meeting there anymore. It was a property on Fifth Avenue, 816 Fifth Avenue. A series of events took place. We wound up being given that building in '88. Yes, and this was in Harvey, 816 Fifth Avenue in Harvey. It was an old Baptist building. They had built it in the 50s, and it was on 4.5 lots. We wound up having the building and the property donated to us. So we have that going for us. Then in 1991, we moved into that in '88. In 1991, we started Koinonia Bible College. The idea behind Koinonia is let's use different pastors to teach in different churches. And that way we won't have to send our young people off to Pensacola or San Antonio, places like that. There's enough talent here in the city to do it. So we began that Koinonia Bible College. Just as a real estate agent in 1991. And a man who was in our church, Robert Driscoll, came to me and said, I was talking to George McLean at Hosanna, because that was the name of this building.
Yeah, I go to Pastor George's church.
Okay.
Now.
They're looking to sell our building up for sale. You interested? We were asking, I think, 156. We got an offer of 120,000. It was from a building. He was probably lowballing us, but he wanted to pay cash. And I crunched the numbers, and I saw that was just enough to get over here. Now, we could have held out. We could have come back and said, give us 140. And he said, I'll give you 130. I wanted out. We had been in that building for 14 years. My wife and I lived in a trailer on that property for 11 years. Well, and we wanted out. So since we had enough to come, we're up in Ruston. And all the cameras are focused on the East Bank, Canal Street, and the Superdome. We live on the West Bank. The church is on the West Bank. We don't know anything for days. Do we have a church? Do we have a house? Finally, a man comes down. He got in, and he checked on our dogs. The house is okay. The church got a roof panel blown off. So we come back and the church is water damage and things like this. So we go to work. We missed the Sunday of the evacuation. The next 2 Sundays we're putting the church together, and then we're going to open up the 4th Sunday. Who's going to come? Is anybody going to come? We put the sign up like everybody else had, the little homemade signs. And I'm thinking, well, if 12 people show up, we'll meet in the back. And then I thought, well, what about an offering? How do you ask people that have lost everything? Maybe we'll do a reverse offering. How much do you need? How much do you need? We have service. 42 people show up. We receive 13,000. And our church has really just blossomed. We have money now. My sister has a mother-in-law who has a cousin who has a foundation. They've sent us money every month. When money is properly applied, it translates directly into ministry. When it's properly applied. Now, don't get me started talking about private jets, huge homes that cost millions and millions of dollars. Because with that same money, a fraction of that money, what could we do?